Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk, number 12.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 12, printed in Part A of House Report number 114-326, offered by Mr. King of Iowa.
Pursuant to House Resolution 512, the gentleman from Iowa, Mr. King, and a member opposed will each control 5. Recognizes the gentleman from Iowa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this is an amendment that I have offered in the past, and it'll be known as the amendment that eliminates the effect of the Davis-Bacon Act. And the substance of it is this: none of the funds made available by this act may be used to implement, administer, or enforce the prevailing rate of wage, which is the effect of this amendment, and it is effectively the Davis-Bacon Act. That seems to get the attention of some of my colleagues. But I would say, Mr. Chairman, that I have worked with this issue as long as anyone in the United States Congress. I have worked back for years as began about 5 years in the construction site as an employee. Multiple times I received Davis-Bacon wage scales. Sometimes I did not. And as I became a contractor in 1975, we began hiring employees. Sometimes we paid Davis-Bacon wage scale. Sometimes we did not. But I was always aggravated by the federal government deciding that they knew what we had to pay our help and what they were worth. And I recall many debates on the floor of the House of Representatives, and people from the other side of the aisle would say that anytime there's a relationship between two or more people that are consenting adults, the federal government has no business sticking themselves in the middle of that relationship. And yet, the Davis-Bacon Act tells me what my son, who is now sitting in the gallery, has to pay me if I'm going to climb in the seat of one of his machines, say an excavator, a scraper, a bulldozer, or a motor grader. So we're 40 years in the construction business. I've watched the inefficiencies that are created by the Davis-Bacon Act. You might need somebody on a shovel, and he decides it pays more to get on a motor grader. You might need somebody on a scraper, and he decides it pays more to get on a bulldozer. This wrecks the efficiency, as well as puts an extra high price on the cost of the products that are being produced under the contracting business in the United States. And so I would say this, that over our years in the construction business, the extra cost for Davis-Bacon ranges somewhere between 8 and 38% additional, depending on the type of product and the location where you are. The average is someplace between 20 to 22%. So to boil this all down, if we want to be responsible to the taxpayer, then we want to get the best dollar out of that. And somebody's going to say that it's second-rate work. That would be a direct insult to me. It would be a direct insult to my son, who owns King Construction today and who is listening to this debate. Our quality work stands with anyone's, and it's superior to many. And sometimes it's Davis-Bacon wage scale, sometimes it's not. But we know what they're worth. The government doesn't know what they're worth. We want to hire the best help, keep the best help, and keep the best help on. And that's just here in this microcosm of King Construction, but it's extrapolated across the nation. So do we want to build 4 miles of road under government-mandated wages, or do we want to build 5? I want to build the 5 miles. I want to build 5 bridges, not 4. I want the best dollar for the taxpayers, and I want the highest efficiency that we can get. That's the substance of this amendment. I urge its adoption, and I reserve the balance.